Hi, everyone. If you're just joining, we'll get started very soon. Thanks again for joining, and we'll be back to you in a minute or two. Thanks. How's it going, everyone? We're just working to get the band into the room. Once we do that, we'll be back on in a couple of minutes or so. So hang tight. Thanks for being so patient. All right, it looks like the guys are about to come in, so hang tight and we'll get started in a few seconds. Thanks so much for your patience, everyone. We're still bringing them in. Just about time, just around the corner. Thank you for being so patient.
So now I'm talking. Does that mean, am I audible?
You are. Yep.
Craybones.
How's it
So,
going?
I mean, I've been in the chat. I've done been in the chat. What are we talking
about? Welcome to the room. Hold on, I'm waiting to get Daniel and Sam in. And once I get all three of you guys, we'll get going. Does that sound good?
Yeah. I will. I'll hit mute then, and I'll be
Thanks. Back
ready.
in a bit.
Scrummy.
Hey, Sam, welcome to the room.
Hey, how are you?
Good. We're just waiting on Daniel and we'll get going.
Cool.
What's up, Sammy?
Hey, Paul. How's it going?
Pretty good.
I didn't get to see you the other night before you left.
Yeah, I went home for some pizza, and then
nice.
And spent my whole day at the airport.
Sweet. I lucked out at the airport.
Yeah, I guess, win some, you lose some.
I just went into the fast track lane and just was like, I'm going to play dumb. And I just went through, and it still took a long time. And was still like, it would have been akin to like just regular, busy security, still like 30 minutes.
Yeah, totes. Sam, before this message scrolls by, this guy Justin Navarro's asking what type of pedals I used. Do you remember that brand of that bass pedal that I was using, the God Eater? Do you remember what the name of the company was?
The God Eater.
Yeah, I was on the bass. I had this one distortion that Richie let me use that's just totally insane, and it's made in India by some guy, and you can't buy any of them. And the pedal is called a God Eater.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what that is.
Well, never. But I use that on. I don't think I use it on the guitar, but I use it on the bass, and it's kind of like it's like the dopest distortion ever.
Yeah, it figures it's it's not like readily available.
Is that the one by Animal Factory?
That's is Animal Factory a company run by one guy in India?
I believe it's run by one guy. Yeah, and it's like super rare pedals. It's kind of like a screwed up like fuzz pedal.
Yeah, but it had. I mean, it just did really crazy things with the bass. Yeah, it was so cool. And I think it had a picture of like that Goya painting of the god eating its son. And
well, I guess we could get started, and once Daniel joins the room, I'll bring him in.
Kiss is blowing up with the VPN, basically. That's what's going on.
Yeah, I'm sure it's I'm sure it's a VPN issue. But first of all, congratulations on the album coming out. And thank you all the fans in here for joining. I know that you guys have been playing some of these songs already in your live sets, but you just did 3 sold out nights in England. And are you excited to start incorporating some other songs from the album into your live set? Like what songs from this new record are you really stoked to play for people?
Personally, Mr. Credit for me. I mean, I would like to play all of them.
Yeah, I think next on my list is Greenwich, but Mr. Credit, I think people are vibing on.
Yeah, I like Greenwich. I mean, it's I think usually you have the tendency or the desire to want to play a lot of new songs from any new record because of by virtue. But I think like with this one too, like it's even more so. I find that I would play the whole album in its entirety.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people in the chat now saying there's Mr. Credit, Passenger, Go Easy, I Saw Greenwich. Yeah, I mean,
Renegade Heart. Yep.
All of those, I think we will definitely play. I think everyone is game to get them up and running.
I mean, it's interesting you brought Mr. Credit because I was going through the Interpol Reddit page, and there's a Mr. Credit appreciation thread. That definitely seems to be a song that people are really gravitating towards.
Cool. Yeah, we got a really good drum and bass sound on that one, and just like that was a fun one. That one does a thing. Everyone. So the person who keeps asking what song Juror became Fables. Juror was the working title that Daniel had for Fables. So we kept a lot of Daniel's working titles on songs for this record, such as Mr. Credit, which then kind of informed the lyrics. And Tony is another example. Into the Night is another example. Something Changed is another example. We kept a lot of Daniel's working titles this time, but Juror just didn't feel like song.
I mean, speaking of titles, how did you guys decide on The Other Side of Make Believe to title this record?
Someone else asked who usually names the songs. I'd say mostly me, but as I say, Daniel's working titles are very often super dope, like Obstacle 1 and Obstacle 2. So I think, I don't know, maybe it's like 30-70 or even as high as 40-60 on who names them. Sorry, the question, The Other Side of Make Believe, why the title?
Yeah, exactly. How'd you guys settle on that title, and what does it mean to you guys?
We've historically taken lyrics and made particular lyrics the title. For instance, Turn on the Bright Lights. I Love to Admire was actually a lyric that just didn't make it into a song that made it onto the record, but that's where that title came from. And so that's a lyric from Passenger that just kind of felt like it was, if any lyric on the record summarized a lot of the themes, it was that one. And I think it's really appropriate to some of the motifs on the record, just involving like fiction and storytelling and fables.
I mean, speaking on the creation of this record, you guys have said in interviews that the beginning of this record started out very spaced out. You guys were writing it in isolation, obviously, at the beginning of the pandemic. But how did it feel when the three of you reunited in the Catskills and played all those songs together in a room. It must have been pretty mind-blowing to hear all three of your parts actually there live.
Yeah, I think it was. And I think after kind of playing through a lot of the material for the first time and realizing that, you know, we were onto something, and then it was kind of the excitement of what will develop while we're in the room together. So there's an aspect that the songs, you know, they were written in isolation, but then they did kind of benefit from, you know, getting together those 2 times in person. So you already had this really thought out foundation, you know, that was and the approach to that, like working remotely, was very unique to the band. But then there was still the kind of old, you know, tried and true aspect of, you know, hey, playing together, which kind of just extended on what was already developed.
Here's a great question from the chat. A lot of people are asking about the cover imagery. How did you guys settle on that really striking photo?
We work with this great company called Undercard, which is Matt DeJong and Jamie James Medina. And they're like a graphic design team, and they did Marauder with us, and they did this record. So I spoke with the two of them about like lyrics that I was working on. They kind of came to us while we were still in the studio and said, like, you got to give us information so that we can start working on a design concept for this record. So I like gave them some thoughts. I brought up like symmetry and reflections and, you know, like dark side, light side, on this idea of kind of like the, you know, the other side of make believe being sort of like there's the positive side to our storytelling nature, and then there's like the negative side to sort of self-deceit and, you know, narratives that don't match up with reality. So that idea of like symmetries and inversions and reflections came to mind. And then like a couple weeks later, I just get an email from Jamie James, that photo of the knife propping up the mirror. And he said, what do you think of this? And to be honest, I feel like Sam and Daniel were the ones who really sort of like championed it more than me initially. I think I came to appreciate how dope it is, but yeah, I really love it. I think they do a fantastic job. So yeah, Undercard rules, and then the photo that's on the cover is from British artists from the 70s whose name escapes me.
I'm sure it could be researched.
Yeah, if anyone in the chat has the name of the artist, throw it into the chat. Another question that came in through the chat, Paul, building off of what you just said about your lyrics, was there a song in particular that was difficult to crack lyrically that you really, really worked on throughout this record?
One in particular, I think Something Changed took a good amount of time, but then kind of I went full circle and wound up using lyrics that I'd written in the first ever demo. Mr. Credit took a lot actually. Passenger, I don't know. I feel like I spent a lot of time on all the lyrics. I don't know if any of them was really particularly difficult. Well, there was one really difficult one, but then it didn't make the record. So I think the songs that sort of want to be kind of like come into existence a little bit more easily. So I don't remember struggling that much. Not much more than normal.
Great. For those of you in the chat, if you haven't seen already, you can actually ask to speak. Sam and Paul, are you open to taking some, I guess, calls from some fans and answer some questions directly?
Sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, we're going to bring in Michelle. Hold on, Michelle. Right, Michelle, you're on. Oh, and don't forget to unmute yourself. When you join the room, it automatically puts you on mute.
Sorry about that. Good morning. Thank you so much for choosing to have me talk. I just wanted to say that album is phenomenal. You guys never fail to amaze me with your music. It just means so much. I've been a fan for so many years. One of my favorite tracks from the album is Big Shot City, and I was just very curious as to what was the inspiration for it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's very kind. The inspiration for like the song itself, or the lyric, or
Yeah, the lyrics and the tune is also very fascinating. Like just the beginning of it, I mean, those chords just immediately struck me, and that became my favorite track. So yeah, the lyrics, I was just curious to know what inspired the lyrics.
I think I came up with the line "Stop the operation," and just sort of went from there. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say, really. The songs kind of like write themselves in a weird way. Like there's just like an atmosphere to the music that then informs what I do lyrically. And right now it's hard for me to sort of like zero in on what exactly I'm saying in Big Shot City.
Oh, okay.
But I remember that the kind of like melodic part of the instrumentation that happened, at least at the beginning of the song, was something where Daniel and I we were in the Catskills event house. And for whatever reason, I just started playing my bass at the exact same moment that Daniel started playing his guitar part for that. And what I accidentally just happened to play in that moment is the sort of hammer-on note thing that begins the bass line. And it is one of those times where it's like a really weird note. I feel like it's a strange note selection that I don't know if I would have come up with if it wasn't for the fact that it just like happened by accident. And we both sort of like raised an eyebrow at each other like, oh, that sounds dope. And then we just went from there.
Okay. Yeah. You know, it's so funny. There was a Reddit comment that I read the other day, and somebody said that to them, it sounds like the introduction to a Nintendo game. I just thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that's cool. It's also my favorite outro, and my favorite drum performance is the outro of Big
Yes, definitely. Sam, your drumming is amazing in this album. A lot of people say that this album just really shows off your drumming. I agree. It's so great. You guys are so great. Thank you so much for answering my questions.
Thank you
very much. Yep.
Bye, Michelle.
Thanks so much, Michelle.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Sam, Maxwell says, can you talk about coming up with the drum parts for Into the Night?
Into the Night. Yeah, that it was a weird one because of the timing is so strange. I think it actually took me a while to figure out to not get turned around like in the verse of the song. And I really think it just stems upon like, you know, kind of Daniel's angular approach to rhythm sometimes and the timing of it. And, you know, and to be blatantly honest, it was just another opportunity that presented itself way more than in the past to ape John Bonham. But it just kind of has that, it's just that pocket that it sits in, that is not necessarily just, you know, wanting to rip off one of my heroes, but it just falls into that ground to me. Like that it was just a natural kind of inclination to really be married to the guitar part, you know, and kind of keep it angular, not kind of smooth it out and, you know, make it a little more predictable per se, if that would even be possible.
Totes, yeah.
I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I would actually just keep talking about that, but I think we should move on. Jake, did you want to do another question?
Yeah, let's bring someone else in. How about Brigitte? I believe that's how you pronounce your name. I'm sorry if it's not Brigitte, but here you go. All right, you're on with Paul and Sam. Just a reminder, take yourself off mute.
Well, hello. I'm surprised. I think I pushed the button in the beginning by mistake because I was testing this. I'm sorry. First, I want to say hello. I'm from Long Island, New York, so I love everything you do. And I've been listening to you for about 3 years only. Or was it 2 years? My son got me into it. And you helped me through the bad times. And I listen to you every day while I work. I work from home on my computer. So and the music is just so I don't know, it's just different from everything else that's out there today. So I'm not prepared to ask any questions. I just want to thank you for your beautiful music.
Well, thank you very much. It's very much appreciated.
Yeah, that means a lot. So glad that we can be there as part of your daily routine. That's beautiful.
Thank you, Brigitte.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
All right, let's go to one more. How about Nasir? Let's bring you in. There we go.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I love that picture of you there.
Thanks very, very much. I didn't think you'd actually let me speak. This is a little terrifying, although I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm a little shaky. Sorry. I have a few questions written down. My first one is kind of how to handle, not exactly losing somebody, but not having as much contact with somebody that you were very close with, I guess.
So
Sorry.
is your question like how to either one of us deal with that?
Yeah, just advice, maybe.
I don't know if I'm the best person to answer that question.
If you can't, it's completely fine. I get it.
Paul?
I mean, I just think it kind of depends. If it's someone that you can reach out to, then, you know,
Yeah.
there's
right.
that. And if there's someone that you can't reach out to, then I feel like, I don't know, yeah, you know, try and honor their memory or honor their role that they had in your life by thinking of the good parts. And I think focusing on self-improvement, if there's kind of like a sense of being bogged down in sadness or longing, I think focusing on yourself and sort of trying to make a better version of yourself each day is a good way to kind of combat being sucked downwards into some sadness.
Yeah, and I think just being honest too with whoever you may want to reach out to, you know, and just being very, very transparent as to how you're feeling, however that's relevant to the relationship you're in.
Thank you. That was really helpful. Also, very quick question. Are you fine with me quickly screen recording, like the audio? I don't know if that's okay here.
If it's okay, if you can do it, then go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Is the mic working? Can you hear me properly?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, quick question. Very quick question. What's everyone's favorite Jolly Rancher flavor?
I haven't eaten those in decades, but it was either the cherry or the strawberry.
Cool.
Grape.
Grape.
All right. Last thing. Can you say hi to my friend Amar?
Hello, Amar.
Hi, Mar.
Thank you so much for letting me speak to you. This was so fun. This like made my day, and I'm always gonna remember this.
Awesome.
I really appreciate you and your amazing music. I love the overall sound of Interpol so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care of yourself.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you, Nasir, for that very thoughtful question. One question I had, actually, if you don't mind me asking, is this album definitely spotlights all three of your very special talents in a very particular way. I was wondering if each of you had a favorite moment from one of your bandmates that they recorded or wrote on this record.
I have a lot of favorite moments of Paul's. There's a lot of bass stuff that he did that is, I think, just so dead on, you know. And we do have a really good, Paul and I have a really good communication when we're writing the parts. I think in the years that Carlos hasn't been with us in the writing process, you know, as well as on stage, although we have our friend Brad Truax playing bass on stage, like Paul and I really have a good dynamic, almost unspoken, and could really know how to push each other in really positive ways. And there's just certain points on this record where it's just like it really hits the mark. to my ears, and kind of just as a listener gets me excited. And Big Shot City, like the bass performance on that is really good. There's a lot of great, for me, a lot of great lyrical moments too that kind of transcend, our relationship, that I would just identify with if I didn't know Paul at all, if I'd never been in this band. So, yeah, there's quite a few moments actually. The Mr. Credit, I think, chorus too, lyrically is beautiful. I love the imagery of that.
Oh, thanks, man.
You're welcome, Paul.
I would just quickly say, yeah, I mentioned the outro, Big Shot City. I think the bass and drum interplay there was so much fun to write. Similarly, I think we had a lot of fun with the post courses of Into the Night when it's like the triplets.
Yeah.
And then I remember also the outro of Tony, sort of just feeling like I came up with like the bass notes, and it was just an opportunity. Like I felt like really lucky that I wasn't going to do anything with the bass line, that I was just going to like keep this bass line of the outro super simple and just let it be this groove, like bass and drums, nothing busy, just kind of, it just locks in and does its thing. And I think, yeah, I just never had, I'll often kind of wonder, like, is the bass doing enough? It was just a really cool, reassuring moment of like, oh, the outro of the song is just going to be a steady groove.
Yeah. I remember changing my part like on the spot to kind of accentuate what was going on bass wise at the outro. Like it informed, so it was like, oh wow, this is what I should be playing. Thanks, Paul.
I nailed it. Yeah. And then another one from you is Something Changed. When you came up with the beat that became the verse beat for that, I was like, okay, like it's like you're like a hound with a, you get a scent, and I know, like, you're not hitting what you're trying to do the first take, but I can sense where you're going, and it's like, oh shit, this is gonna be fun. Oh, pardon my French. This is gonna be sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun.
For DK, I think, yeah, shout out Into the Night. That's
Into the Night, yeah.
And I think his verse, his guitar work on Passenger is one of the most beautiful things he's ever written. I think
it's really good.
Just bonkers.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we can go on. We can pick out a lot of things, as soon as you start talking about it. It was really a fun record to make overall. There was just really, starting out in such a bleak period, for the whole globe, and then to have this thing to kind of, sink into. It was just aside from it being a unique experience for the band and writing music and the way we do it, it was just it was a saving grace to be able to, have something that it was like going to work every day. You can kind of forget about how bad things were for a good minute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, even the fans are pointing out definitely that communication between the three of you really, really shows on this record. And it really feels like the three of you really cracked open the world of Interpol. And it feels like a very exciting, but like natural evolution for the band.
It really feels that way, aside from, what was going on around us and for everybody at that moment, throughout, 2020, aside from, what forced us into this situation, it was great. It was just a great way to write music together, and kind of really, we'd never not written in person together. And, kind of just to be pragmatic about it, then it yields these really excellent results was a beautiful thing, I think.
Thanks, guys. You up for taking a couple more phone calls from fans?
Sure.
Awesome. And for those asking, we're desperately trying to get Daniel in, but there's some technical difficulties happening on his side. But if he can get in, we'll bring him in.
I'm gonna hang up when he gets here. just
a private session with Daniel. Okay, let's bring in. How about let's try Jesse. Hi, Jesse. You're on with Sam and Paul.
Wow, this is great. Hey, guys. Huge fan. I'm a middle-aged man now that fell in love with you guys in his early 20s, and have really loved the evolution of the band and the sound. And, after Carlos and everything. And I just wondered, was there ever a point where you were like, this is it? We don't have anything left in the tank? Or, I hate talking about the end of you guys, but is there a point where you guys are like, we're done, man, let's just retire and be cool and start super groups elsewhere?
I don't think there's been a moment that moment hasn't happened yet. Thank God.
Jesse, I think you got to mute us on your end. Oh wait, you got to mute you, right? Or something.
Yeah, Jesse, if you want to mute yourself, I'll bring you back in. But there's some bad feedback going on.
There's one answer to that though that was pretty meaningful that I think Daniel would probably mention, was that when we started writing El Pintor.
And Daniel's in. Sorry.
Hey, Daniel.
Hello.
What's up, Daniel?
How's it going?
Pretty good. Just chatting with the fans.
Nice.
A fan asked if we ever thought about packing it in, and do we ever think about packing it in, or just thinking like, there's nothing left in the tanks. And I was about to say that I think before we started writing El Pintor, I don't think we actually knew, I don't think we were worried that it was done, but I don't think we knew what the future was going to hold. And then we got together, you and I, and wrote The Beginnings of Anywhere. Right? That's the name of it, the song, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct.
And I think we were really encouraged. And then we played it with Sam and sort of kind of knew that like, oh, cool, this is going to be a really good song. And it was very organic writing it. And I think from then on, we just kind of felt like, cool. And now there's like this whole new well of inspiration to sort of pull from. And I think a new chemistry continues to take shape from that. And I do think that, we would know when we were done. And I feel that it doesn't feel that way at all. It's never felt like we were struggling to, feel inspired by each other. And I think that that's a great fortune that we have in this band, is that the chemistry, stays. So, fingers crossed that that maintains that way into the future. But I think we would definitely hang it up if we were like, not feeling it anymore.
Yeah, I agree. And it doesn't really feel that way at all. It definitely feels like there's something to ride off of from this record. I think it could end up yielding beautiful results into the future.
And now Daniel will talk for the rest of the time.
I agree. I feel like I think everything you said, Paul, as far as like we would know, and the fact that it's as soon as we embark on writing, we're never short for ideas. It's just we're actually just paying attention to what we're working on in the moment, and there's just too much to kind of be inspired by, and we're just kind of off to the races, so to speak. That it's easy to take that for granted, but I don't think that we do. And at the same time, it's easy to. It always serves as a reminder as to why you're a band. Like, because you're like, oh, the chemistry's just happening in front of your eyes, and the proof is in the songs they're evolving, that feel as exciting as anything you've done previously in the moment. And so you kind of have that familiar feeling of excitement on new material that's just been there. Like the currency has been there since day one, and it's a pretty fortunate place to be.
All right, we're gonna take. We'll do 2 more fan questions if that's okay with you guys. Let's bring in, how about Max? All right, Max, you're on with the entire band.
Hello, hi.
Hey
Hi
there.
there.
So truthfully, I haven't been listening to Interpol for very long, but I do hope to be a fan in the upcoming future. And I did want to ask, I got into the band with the music video for Evil, and I've been fascinated with it ever since, so much to have it on repeat. I was wondering if you had any, like, facts or things about that you could share?
Paul, do you?
About the video specific?
Anything, really.
I mean, the song, Yeah, I mean, I can just remember that the song that was at a time for me lyrically. I don't know. I really enjoyed that song lyrically. I put that sort of in a category with Specialist and Not Even Jail of a certain like moment in time for me writing wise that was, I think, me kind of like figuring out what I wanted to do lyrically. And I think they're kind of like cool. Like that song is like almost like not a mission statement, but I think one of the songs that sort of helped me define what I wanted to be as a lyricist. So that's cool about that song. And then the puppet, everybody, you know, there's the Norman puppet that Charlie White. Am I getting that right?
Charlie White, yeah.
Created for that video, a great artist, and he had a really cool concept. And I think it was really, he's someone, I think like the lyric is very strange to that song, and I think it spoke to him. And I think the video is strange, and the whole thing is just like out there. And I'm very proud of it as being just kind of, yeah, it's out there.
Charlie White's a unique character in himself to where he's not really, you know, a director per se, right, Paul? He doesn't do like a lot of commercial work, isn't that correct? He's like a
I mean, he does, I think he's a professor now. He does photography. He does like design stuff. Yeah, he does a lot of things.
Yeah, he's a very interesting guy.
Well, thank you for answering my question. It was nice to speak to you guys.
You too, Max. Take care.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Before we go on to one last call from a fan, Daniel, earlier I was talking with Paul and Sam about some of their favorite moments of each other's when recording this album. I was curious if you had any favorite moments that or parts that Sam wrote or Paul wrote while making this record.
I mean, so many. I mean, really so many. I mean, just because we did part of this record where we had to sort of write remotely, as maybe you guys have already addressed. For me, it felt like a little, with that in mind, and with, you know, all the global circumstances and the restrictions of movement and so forth, just we, you know, the fact that we had to exchange these files and so forth. When I'd wake up like the next morning, I'd have like a new part for that, you know, like Sam had added a new drum part or something like that, or Paul, and it always became like something I really looked forward to, and always a moment of discovery. So there's just so many in that sense, and there's every single time it always felt like a great new surprise waiting, and it felt like just, I don't know, like an advancement of each song, and also again like a kind of like a recommitment or reconfirmation as to why we're a band in the first place, because each time it was like, oh man, I hadn't thought about this. This is advancing the song into an exciting new direction, which is consistent to, I think, how we've written all of our records. And even though the fact that we were a great distance apart and this wasn't happening real time in the same room, it was still happening, and it felt like we were in the same room, and that sort of wasn't to be expected, but that's like what happened. So I don't know, there's a lot of exciting moments. I mean, for me, it's like, even like a song, like in general, just as when Into the Night came together, that felt like a really exciting moment. It's got some crazy little arrangement stuff in there, and just like the beat is sick, and it feels like great every time like Sam comes in from the top of the song after my guitar line's been in there, and then just like Paul's vocal and the post choruses and the guitar line, and he, you know, I think Paul came up with that during, correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, but I feel like it was during the second writing session when we finally were able to play together in the Catskills. And I just remember like you were doing the vocal line and the guitar line at the same time. It just felt like something new, something we hadn't done in our repertoire, and something that you hadn't done as a vocalist. And it's, you know, there's also a factor of like control in the way that Paul's singing in that section, where it's like, it's deeply emotional and emotive, but it's very controlled, you know, but by being very controlled and in some parts are softly sung, it's actually like with as much effect as if it was like, you know, belted out. And it felt like something just like, yeah, like a new gear shift to go into. And it, you know, that song in particular is very exciting for me.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Daniel. All right, we're going to go to one last question from a fan. Again, thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you to Paul, Daniel, and Sam for joining and doing this for all of us. This has been incredible. So nice. For the last question, let's go to, how about Amanda? All right, Amanda, you're on.
Oh shit.
Um,
Hey, Amanda, how are you?
so good. Thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Hi, Amanda.
Okay, so I entered it like the last second because I was like, you know what, screw it. Maybe I'll get to talk to Interpol. Is there, I don't know, something that you wish people would ask you about more, or that you wish you got to talk about more in situations like this?
This has been pretty satisfying.
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, I find it just really interesting to hear what people want to know about. I think that there's just, it's really, I think creating music and art is like my whole life almost. And I think it's, yeah, so it's tough to even think about any particular aspect of that I would particularly feel like I don't get to share. So it's more, I'm just curious to know what people want to know. If you ask me like questions about pedals or something, then I would probably get into talking about pedals, but off top, I got that.
Unfortunately, I don't know anything about pedals, but I do appreciate your take on that. And
Daniel's skincare regime was coming up.
oh, that's
My what?
Your
skincare regime.
Everyone
Oh
wants to know how
yeah, I
you
wish
stay
you would
with
ask more about that. It's I have an infomercial. I can go on for hours, and I hope you guys buy some products.
Daniel and I were actually just talking about skincare the other day, ever so briefly, but we did touch upon it.
Sam,
sorry.
well, now it's out there. Come on.
Now it's out there, Sam. Good job, Sam.
Yeah, not non-soap stuff for the face. Very, very crucial for the middle-aged men, or human.
All right. Will you guys give me one good-natured suck it junior?
Suck it, Junior?
Yeah,
What is that for?
because I get to talk to Interpol. It's good-natured. We're friends.
Suck it, Junior.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Guys, have a
You're
good
welcome.
day. This is
You're welcome. Take care.
All right, thanks so much, guys. Paul, Daniel, if you ever want to post or talk about your pedal chain, I'm around at any time. Okay, did the three of you, any final thoughts you want to talk to the fans before we say goodbye?
Just a big thank you for all the continued support. I think it's amazing.
And I think Electro-Harmonix Canyon Delay is my favorite.
Oh, guess what? It is. Jake, you were correct about the animal. It's the Animal Factory, Animal 6 God Eater, 2020 edition, sold out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That thing rules. But yeah, the Canyon Delay pedal is my jam live and on the record. And that I just found at a Guitar Center in LA. So I will leave you with that. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks, Jake. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks, Jake.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.